pain and pleasure. Now, pain and suffering. Let's look at that. Let's look at pain and suffering. Let's look at the other side. You know, we see pleasure. We know that pleasure is beautiful, it's good, it's great, but it's temporary, right? It is not like peace. It is not like the present. It is the other side of the coin from pain. It is the light to the darkness, which is pain. When you look at that phenomenon of that coin, pain and pleasure. Now we're going to look at the phenomenon. We're going to look at the dark side here. We're going to look at that pain, and we're going to look at pain and suffering. You know, we go through suffering due to the fear of pain, or due to pain when we are in pain. Then you have the psychological mind going through suffering, because there are thoughts, there are fears. When is this pain going to stop? Or this pain is too much. And, you know, we complain about it. And that's the suffering. Why us? Why are we going through this? There's a whole lot of things that make up suffering. And it's all in the psychological mind. You see, the animals don't have this psychological mind. They don't have this type of suffering. But they got pain. Pain is real. It's more real than suffering. This suffering, I see it as more of an illusion than as the pain that can be inflicted. The suffering is created within our mind space, and it becomes some programs where we go to. Because we think maybe we're going to go through pain, then we suffer before something even happens, because of the memory of the past that we went through pain when this type of situation happened. Now we don't want this type of situation. Now we're suffering before the situation even happens. That's why when you don't have faith to say, okay, that situation wouldn't happen, then you can't stop this program from happening to your psychological mind. Then you just go through suffering. A student asked the master, asked the teacher, why am I existing in suffering? I'm suffering all the time. Why do we suffer? Why do the people suffer? Why is there a lot of suffering? Why are all this? And he's pointing at the external factor of it. The causes he thinks is external, because that's what everybody thinks. When I do this to you, you suffer. So that person made me suffer. That thing made me suffer. That made me suffer. You know, we're pointing the finger at the external. Why am I existing in suffering? Why are many people existing in suffering? And the teacher said, or I could say the master says, you are suffering your existence. So your existence is fine, but you are the one putting the suffering in it. You're not existing in suffering. No one is existing in suffering. Everyone is existing in divine purity. It's neutral. There is no polarity in it. But we are in the world and matrix, should I say, a program of polarity where you got to choose. And I'm not talking about only the mind can choose, you know, your programs can choose for you. Your body could choose to move left instead of right because it doesn't want to fall in a hole. So you're suffering your existence. If you can realize that you can actually choose not to suffer, regardless what is happening, to smile even from whatever is happening. They asked Mandela one time when he was in jail, how come you can be so peaceful with all these guards and everything? How come you're not suffering this anymore? You were jailed and you just pleasant. You're just good to these people. How come you can be that good after everything they did to you? And Della replied, you see, I realized that the anger, the hatred that was making me suffer, and the suffering was just poison. It's just toxic poison. I realized it was in my own hands and choice to not choose to suffer, to not choose to hate, because it's so heavy, it's so toxic, it's killing me, it's poisonous, this hatred, this anger. I don't want any part of it anymore. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm fed up of being fed up. The cup is full. Something else kicks in. I will survive. Fela calls it suffering and smiling. Fela Nicolas Bokuti, a music legend from West Africa, Nigeria, created Afrobeat. Now everyone's on Afrobeat. He created that with the band. And he had a song saying suffering and smiling, because the Nigerian people had a lot of pain and suffering, that at some point they just got used to it and they just enjoyed themselves. You know, what are we going to do now? You know, they got tired of fighting the oppressors. So he said he got tired. He just, you know what? I'm going to love, and I'm going to put blessings. I'm going to put this beautiful thing inside of me. I'm not going to do that to myself anymore. I do not care and mind what people have done and what the outside has done to me. I only mind my own inside. And you know what? I love myself that much to not do it anymore. So I forgave them. I forgave myself. And from then, I just loved anything. And that's why I can be peaceful, and that's why I'm not retaliating, and that's why the list goes on. So you see, there is a choice that is in our hands. You cannot really change the outside. It's not really in your hands. You can try. It can happen temporarily, but the outside is the outside. What you can change is your response to the outside. And I didn't say reaction. Those are two different things. You react because there's a program in you and automatically it just reacts. But if you go inward and you find yourself, and things will happen, and you would wait and stop. You will have that headspace for a moment. You breathe. You use the breath of life, which is the most beneficial tool that we have in our palms, in our hands. The breath. Even the doctors will tell you to do that when you have anxiety, because the cup is full. So you breathe. And then reasoning, wisdom starts coming to you. And then you respond. Because you love yourself so much, you're choosing what battles to fight, and whether to fight a battle at all, whether it's worth it to fight a battle. Everybody gets injured. An eye for an eye makes the world a blind place. If you kill all the thieves, you feel there will be good people in the world? No, I so could. There would be murderers left in the world, because you become a murderer. This takes earnestness. Those who are not in the path, who are not in the place, who are not in the maturity to seek and see earnestness would not listen to this. Because they have a whole lot of energy to expand and to, they want to go through all that. They want to, and they have the right to do that. But I'm talking to those who are fed up of being fed up. You can realize yourself and choose happiness, joy. Choose love in you and choose the peace in you. And stop suffering your existence. That's your empowerment. You have that in your hands. But if you say, oh, I'm existing in suffering, you don't have your power in your hand. It's in the hands of the outside. That is a dangerous thing. You're helpless. Most people feel they're helpless because that's what they believe in, that's the perspective. But if they could, oh, I wish they could. I love them so much. If they could dare to just go inwards and take the power back. Wow. What a beautiful world and what a beautiful existence they will experience. Words cannot explain sometimes what I feel and the joy that comes, the love that is, wow. They say the magnificence of God, the religious sector would say that. The love of God. Oh, do you know what it is to feel the love of God? Oh my God. You have tears. Like, how can I be loved so much? I mean, it's too much. You will burst out in laughter. Like, me, just me, this little me. It's all in you. You don't need any physical thing. You don't need matter to show you. It's in you. You go inwards. Suffering. Now the pain, you just got to let that pass. You don't need to suffer it, but you can experience it. It's going to be painful, heavy, but that too shall pass. It's temporary. If it's not that temporary, maybe it may be the course and your way out. Well, some people, it's their way, it happens, and they move on to the next life, next world. They leave their physical body and they move. Or it may be too much to endure. But you don't have to suffer it. But you can run away from experiencing it. And it's something that can help you. Of course, medicine helps, whatever helps, therapy helps, the plants help. One very powerful one is your breath. You become a superman, superwoman, superhuman when you know how to use your breath. The most common thing we have and we take for granted. It stops your psychological mind from operating like a rogue and going into suffering and all sorts of places. It just keeps that mind in the attention of your breath and the oxygen, the life that comes into you. At some point, you start to even enjoy that while you're still in pain. It gives your mind the space to be able to go through it. It may not stop the pain, but at least you're not suffering it. And sometimes it slows down the pain. It reduces it. And sometimes it stops it. I've had slight headaches and I went to my breath. Long, slow, deep, and comfortable breath. And the pain is gone. For something that small. But if it's that big, well, you need medication. Suffering and pain. I love you all. Blessings to you. Namaste.